Since I've been playing far too much La Batale lately, I'm going to take a break and play a game that I received as part of the Consim World Donation Reward Program. It's called What Went Wrong. It's the Battle of Ap Bac in the Vietnam War, the early stages anyway. This pits, I guess this came out in 2014. I'm finally getting around to playing it. But print and play, that takes a bit of an investment in time to create the counters. That's my excuse. So it's a game that pits the ARVN forces against the NLF, or the Communist rebels in South Vietnam. It is an area movement game. This is the map here. See, it has areas depicting this location around this little village. Woods, open fields, and a special area over here that is flooded that affects movement. With most area movement games, the terrain usually acts as a defensive modifier. So you see in the circle, the white is the area number and the red is the defense factor. So there are some woods and villages with a defense factor of 2. The open areas are 0. This is a nice looking game, I think. Counters are kind of nice. To the left here we have the ARVN forces, the 1st and 2nd Civil Guard units, and then a regular Army unit. The number on the left, the lower left, is the attack factor. The lower right is the defense factor. So you see the Civil Guard are a little less able to defend. Here we have the Communist forces, the NLF, National Liberation Front, and they, you can see, are actually much better forces. 3 for attack, 4 for defense. They have some special troops like the snipers. And we see these units with the white attack factor. That is indicative of heavy weapons or special weapons. In general in the game, units fire individually, but a unit with a white attack factor combined with a normal unit. So that 3 261 could fire with his heavy weapons, 4 261 to combine into a 5 fire factor. There are only 8 turns, each turn representing 2 hours. But the mechanics of the game is activations, random for each side, powered by a 53 card playing card deck. So you draw a card, and a red card means a NLF activation, and a black card means the ARVN. And the value of the card determines how many activations. And largely that determines movement as well as fire. And then there are some 10-sided dice rolls that control some other things as well. So the first thing we're going to do is set up the opening positions. Largely we're going to see the ARVN on the south end of the map here entering, and then the NLF arrayed in some areas towards the southern end of the map as well. Winning the game is largely a function of morale, either the NLF resistance level or the ARVN morale. When it gets low enough, it starts to affect their ability to conduct operations. When it gets very low, they can be forced into a automatic defeat. So those things are affected by basically by casualties. But another aspect of the victory conditions is control of some village areas. Entering a hamlet yields victory points, and for the NLF, the ability to withdraw out of the battlefield through these 3 areas right here is also key to them winning. This is Vietnam, so withdrawing is not necessarily a defeat. Owning the field doesn't mean you won. But the ARVN are encouraged to pursue, because any casualties incurred here in this flooded area count double for victory purposes. So there's some different incentives for both sides to keep them on a particular track towards victory. So you see we kind of have our first setup here. We have the ARVN in the heavily defensible areas, the villages and the woods. Set up one far to the north here over this open area, sort of like a rear guard in advance. And then we have the civil guard units that are going to be entering at the very south. And that one unit right there, artillery support, is very, very important for the ARVN. Don't want to lose it, but we wanted it in a defensible position as well, so they'll move some forces in there to occupy it and keep it safe. So that's the initial setup. There are all those concealed markers next to the NLF forces. All NLF are concealed at start until either they move or fire, and that just gives them a defense benefit. So with that, we'll move on to the first turn. I'll make one last comment. When I first started to look through the game, I was a little unsure of a couple of the rules. A couple of things weren't quite clear. And I mentioned this was a reward for donating to Consim World. So I was having a rule question. What do I do? Oh yeah, Consim World. So I went out, checked the forum. Sure enough, a couple years ago when this was first published, folks had some questions. Exact same things I was coming across. The answers were there. Cleared it right up, and now I'm ready to go. So, hey, donate to Consim World. It's a pretty useful tool.